The future of the party. Oh my goodness. So I was watching this interview with Roland Martin and Chuck Rocha, who's a political consultant. And what they were talking about was really the future of the Democrat Party. This is something that I've talked about where the Democrat Party is really at a crossroads right now. Because what we have is the overt races, which is the Republican Party, and the covert races, which is the Democrat Party. And behind the scenes, you start to realize that all these people, they're very much one and the same, okay? The lineage of evil. And it's really our job as black people, if we're going to be voting for the Democrat Party, to keep the Democrat Party honest. And this is something that I've talked about ad nauseum, where people are talking about hashtag, voting the couch. That's a trick bag, family. And all this goofy freaking, jive turkey, essentially Samboism, because that's what it is. That's not going to get black people anywhere. You exiting out of the system and then complaining about the system that you have no footing in is meaningless. That is a slave mindset, all right? And this is something I talked about. It was like, hey, if you want change, you've got to know who your representative is. You have to know who, when the next council meeting is. You have to know these things just as much as many people are aware of the NFL. Who's the best team? As many people are aware of the NBA. They can have arguments about, Curry versus LeBron or LeBron versus Jordan. They can have those arguments because they're knowledgeable in that area. That same knowledge has got to come over to politics or it's game over.
Damn.
And this is something they were talking about throughout the interview, whereas you have these white consultants, and I'm going to call them racist because you act like a racist, you talk like a racist, that's what you are. You are attributing to the system of racism in this country, therefore you are a racist. So you have these white consultants who essentially, that they want the vote, but they don't want the voice.
Damn.
That's what it boils down to. That they will have these, these black people that they want them to listen to, these docile individuals, and they talk about that, how Roland Martin says that they were talking, greasy about him, right? Because they want someone that they control. They don't want someone who's going to give Kamala Harris, a side question or catch her off guard. They don't want that. They want a step and fetching. Yes, sir, absolutely.
The stuff those white strategists were saying about me, I know what they said about me in the Biden campaign and the Harris campaign and the other campaigns. Because see, what they want, and I'm going to go ahead, before I go to my panel, it's real clear. They want safe black people. Who can we control? So we're going to fund them. We want to kick money to them.
And that's not going to get them anywhere. And he goes on to talk about when it comes to the money, that's where black and brown people go bye-bye, because it goes back to the white consultants.
I like to say the diversity ends where the money begins, because there's plenty of our kind of people, working class, brown people, black people, that are staffing folks or working as staffers.
And because it's become such a billion-dollar industry, and this is something I've talked about when it comes to the Republican Party and how they've made a billion-dollar industry out of attacking black people. Well, they've made a billion-dollar industry on the left by taking the black vote. That's what they've done. And because there are some who are so disillusioned to the system or not knowledgeable about the system, or you have these grifters and hustlers who are telling you to remain ignorant, that becomes easier and easier. And once the demographics change, well, it's game over. That's what happens. And this is what I've talked about when it comes to extinction. That when it comes to the money, they don't want to hear what you have to say. So this is something that Roland Martin talked about when it came to Kamala Harris. This is something that I talked about, where you had Kamala Harris completely, not do much black entertainment or black media to later on in the campaign. And it really wasn't that, she didn't have that much to run off of. But it wasn't until the later, final weeks before the campaign, before the election, that she would go on Roland Martin, that she would go on Breakfast Club, that she would go on these other predominantly black podcasts or, interviews. And we see when it comes to the white consultants, they have no care for black media. They have no respect for black media. And the reason being, what I would say, is because it's racist. That's just simple as that. Is that they may have run politicians that are, hey, I'm for the people, but it's the people who are controlling the people that are allegedly for the people. If a racist is controlling you, then what good are you, fam?
I'm going to go back to Kamala Harris's campaign. I called, I emailed, I texted. They wouldn't even respond. They wouldn't even hit me back. they wouldn't even meet. They were spending money. They literally were like, yeah, we got to talk to him.
If you have a white consultant saying, hey, don't go to that black media, we've done enough black media. And Roland Martin goes on to talk about, like, listen, people were flipping out about me getting 350Ks. Like, I should have gotten 3.5 million. And he's absolutely correct. 100% correct. Because he says, hey, they had $1 billion. They spent $1 billion, bro. And black media only got 22 million out of that billion, bro.
They spent more than $1 billion, and only when you look at only 20, according to one analysis, only $22 million of the Harris campaign was spent on black-owned media.
Come on now, dog.
And we see that, you know what, that actually did garner results. Okay, she didn't win the election, but she didn't get a complete blowout. And that's where I'm saying we're at a crossroads. We're very much at the point where Democrats are going to continue down the path that they're doing with these white consultants and these racists and these completely ignorant people who are leading the party astray, who are leading these candidates astray, and completely leaving out their voting base, as much as we are, given, the demographic change. But that being said, you can't do that. And the only way they can do that is if we allow that. Or they have the option of, hey, you need to give a voice to these people. Because the way you're going about structuring your campaign to meet the people that you're trying to help is not working. All right? You've got to meet the people where they are. You've got to meet the people who have these podcasts, who have these YouTube channels, who have these outlets that are meeting the regular everyday people. We see this with Trump. Trump went on Aiden Ross. He went on damn near everyone. He went on a podcast, Joe Rogan. He went all over the place, bro, to meet the people where they were. And that is where the Democrats are failing.
We have to do things differently, because if we continue to do what they're doing, they're just going to continue to lose.
They are failing with messaging, and they are failing with meeting the people where they are. They have got this good old boys club, which is what they said in the interview, and that's not helping them. You've got to evolve. You've got to adapt. And that's where I'd say the crossroads is. And if black people exit out of politics, which is the worst thing y'all can do, which is what these goofies and these CIA agent grifters are telling black people to do, vote for the couch, hey, they're the trick bag and all that. That is the worst thing you can do. What you should do is actually be knowledgeable. Just as Roland Martin is knowledgeable with how much they were paying other people. And he said the reason why he got the 350K, because he was like, I'm not dealing with these white, consultants. I'm not dealing with these mediators who try to go over the metrics and try to nickel and dime you, because they don't do that with white media, right?
Because I told the Harris campaign, I'm not wasting time with your white media companies nickel and diming me. If y'all gonna buy advertising, y'all gonna buy direct. I'm not going through them where they come in with a bullshit metric games when the white media ain't got to put up any metrics.
You have to be honest. They don't view, I highly doubt that these people view Roland Martin as a media network. They don't view it that way, because they're, it's, coupled with racism, and it's just coupled with, old white men. It just is what it is. It's an antiquated notion that they are leading their decisions by. They're living in the past. So, but when they come to a CNN, even though some of these freaking YouTube channels, some of these podcasts are completely skyrocketing on numbers and views as opposed to CNN, but they view that as, oh, okay, that's CNN, that's NBC. I know there's a white person there. I know there's a white head there. I know there's a white executive there. And they feel comfortable with that. And that has got to change. And the only way you can make that call is if you're knowledgeable in the field. You can't call them out on their BS if you don't know anything. It goes back to politics. You can't call someone out on their black agenda BS if you don't know what the president of the United States can do legally. If you don't know as far as, hey, how many people they have in the Supreme Court. If this were to go up to the courts, right, the lower courts knock it down and they then go to the Supreme Court, how would this play out in our favor? You have got to know the contingency plans. You've got to know the pathway to victory. And that's unfortunately what a lot of black people don't know. They don't know the pathway to victory because they have taken themselves out of the political process. And you can't do that expecting a W. Anyways, guys, that's a video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you believe, look, you Democrats, chill. That's what you are. Okay, I'm not falling for the trick bag. Okay, I want tangibles, hashtag cut the check. Or if you have believe, listen, you can be goofy, but guess what? It's always the one who is telling you this goofiness that somehow lives in a white neighborhood. It's always the one that's feeding you this propaganda that somehow manages to get success, all right? So y'all just gotta, pull your head out of your butts and understand what's going on. Understand that these are hustlers, these are grifters, these are CIA agents for the most part, and they're leading many black people astray. That's what's happening. And it's not gonna benefit anyone. That many of these people, whether it's Al Sharpton, the list goes on, that they believe that they are insulated. And it's not gonna happen that way. Do you think any Asian, any Mexican, any Latino, any white person really cares about Al Sharpton? No. Okay, not at all. So many of these people feel like they're insulated and they're on their cushions and they're like, well, you know, I'm just extracting money from the dumb Negroes. But it's going to fall, it's going to backfire. That's what's going to happen. It's eventually going to backfire. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not a year from now, but eventually it will backfire on them. And by that time, we're all screwed. Now what? Anyways, if you happen to disagree, you know where to find me, Thursday through Saturday, Disagreement Day. There'll be a number on screen. You call in, we duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think about this, and subscribe. And that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing.
They want safe black people.